morning, everyone. And we are here at Rage today with Barry Louzada. Most of you will know him as Anthrax, one of South Africa's most well-known shoutcasters. So good morning, Barry.
Thank you. Hi there.
Yes, thank you for joining us. So for those who don't know what shoutcasting is, what is it and how did you actually get into it?
Okay, firstly, shoutcasting is basically when you commentate over games. So if you've got, if you can imagine a rugby or a cricket commentator, those guys that speak about the games and what happens there, that's exactly what happens here in esports. So you have your different genres of games, CSGO, Dota, League of Legends, and casters go into those specific genres. There's so much detail and information and background that needs to be understood within those games. So you'll generally find that casters stick to one specific game. And you have two different types normally, which is your analytical side and your hypercasters, the guys that make it all exciting and make it sound like it, build up the anticipation of the game. And basically that's what casting and commentating is for. There was a second part, I missed it. What was the second part again?
How did you get into it?
How did I get into it? So I've been involved in esports for almost over a decade now. I played professionally myself. And I talk really well as well. So I've got a good command of the language, and I understand the game as well, which helps. And that was just the next step for me. After playing competitively for almost 15 years, I decided that I wanted to still stay in esports. So I moved into the production side, and I went into casting.
Great. So you said that there are two types of shoutcasting, the hype and the analytical. Which one do you do in particular?
I do a combination of the two. So the more I've gotten into Counter-Strike, CSGO, the more I've understood and learned, and I've learned the teams and the players and their play styles and the maps and how they play on those maps. So an analytical cast is someone that's really understands exactly what's going on and why they're doing what they're doing, and they try and give the viewer a better understanding of that. And the hypecaster, which is what I do, or more of a color caster, where I can actually talk a little bit about the analytical side, and then when something really exciting is about to happen or starts to happen, I will then start to raise my tempo and start to create almost an anticipation and start to tell the story. Because at the end of the day, that's what a caster's job is to tell the story of the game. Because to shout what's happening on screen is, you don't need that to happen. People can see what's happening. You kind of need to create a story, so you need to talk about the players, you need to explain where they are and how they've got here, and create a little bit of a rivalry or maybe an underdog situation where you want the viewers to actually get an idea as to where these teams sit on both sides of the field, and maybe pick a side and decide which team they want to support.
Great. And to get into shoutcasting, I'm sure you have to have a very good knowledge of games and a particular game. If a person wants to get into it, would you suggest they get familiar with one particular game and then get the analytics side of it?
I think the most important thing, the first thing is in any scenario, if you wanted to do debating at school, if you're terrible at standing on stage talking in front of people, casting is not something you're going to be good at, because being able to do it at home, when you do a little bit of an online broadcast is not really going to. If you want to make a career out of this, you need to be able to stand up in front of an entire audience and be able to speak to them. You need to have a good command of the language which you choose to actually cast in, and then you need to understand the game. That's the last most important bit, is understanding the game that you want. There's so many games to choose from, and there's so much information that you need to understand, and players that you need to understand. It's not just about understanding the game, it's about understanding the teams and the players and the dynamic of those teams and the dynamic of those players. So it is easier, and I'm not saying it's not possible to cast multiple games, it's just easier to really focus on one game so that you can be the best at that.
Okay, great. And I'm guessing that there's not a degree for shoutcasting in particular.
At the moment, no. I suppose if you're a good shoutcaster, because of the way esports is, you kind of get that instant response from the public that are watching. They'll tell you if you're good or bad, and they'll let you know whether they like you or not. So I do casting and panel hosting. So today I'll be panel hosting the final for the ESL Africa Championship, and that's a completely different side of it. So you have to be able to differentiate between those two, and there is no degree in within casting. So you can move across the two different styles and types. You can be an analytical caster one day or a hype caster the next day. Nobody's really going to do that. But if you were to do something like, I think there's voice coaching and that kind of stuff, it can only help you. I mean, if you had to get involved in acting or drama or anything like that.
And what do you think gives you the edge over other shoutcasters in South Africa?
I don't think I have any sort of edge. There's really a whole bunch of really good casters in South Africa. I've been playing for a really long time, so I have an understanding of that competitive nature, that competitive side. I've captained a team, I've won international titles. I kind of have an understanding of the players and what it's like to be on stage. That gives you a certain sense of understanding as to what's happening and how people are feeling, the players on the stage particularly. But in South Africa, it's still a very new industry with regards to esports and casting, and it's merely a case of just being around longer than anybody else.
I see. So we are at Rage today, obviously. How do you think Rage is helping with the development of gaming and in relation to shoutcasting as well?
Well, firstly, I was at the first Rage, and I've been at every single Rage since then, whether it was running a tournament, being a part of a tournament, or casting, or whatever. It's basically the birthplace of esports. It's given every single gamer in South Africa an opportunity, a platform to grow esports, gaming, the love and passion for every comic book, gaming character, whatever you want with regards to gaming. And we've always had this little niche, like gamers particularly have been put aside, and it's like this underground thing where nobody's really understands it, and this is our platform to shine. And being able to have these competitions, these esports competitions here, is where we've all been given an opportunity to actually ply our trade, so to speak. Competitive gamers, shoutcasters, commentators, panel hosts, you name it. I mean, we're going into the point where it's production, it's cameramen, it's graphic designers, it's web designers, it's all that kind of stuff that's involved in just one production.
Okay, great. Well, I think that's about it from our side. Is there anything else that you'd like to add that I maybe missed out on asking?
No, I mean, other than what the guys at Rage have done, it's been an absolute dream come true to be able to work with and for ESL here at Rage and Kwese, bringing them out here. So, I mean, I know that for a long time it's been a dream of a lot of people to be involved and be a part of it. So all we can say is thank you as gamers and competitors.
Great, well thank you very much for having us, and tune in for next time. Cheers!